Sue. I don't know how many years ago that I shared this with Sue, but it was some great stuff. It changed a lot for her, in regards to business and success. And I think you guys probably all want more sales, right? I mean, isn't that what we're all here for? And
Oh,
and that's kind of what I've specialized in for a couple of, well, more than a couple of decades. And lately, and when I say lately, the last 2 decades, I've been doing it online and helping people create marketing campaigns. I've got a company called Internet Dominators and share the secrets to getting more customers. So you can find me on Alignable. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk about the first step of all of this. If you want to get new customers, this is like the groundwork. If you're not starting here, you're probably going to struggle. So let's talk about it. It's the avatar. It's what Sue had alluded to. And, avatar is kind of a funky word. It's not part of our normal language. It's part of the business language. It's kind of like the secret language. And avatar is basically, it's your ideal customer. It's not everybody. A lot of people think that their avatar is a market and they think they want to sell to the whole market. Well, it's not. If you're trying to talk to everyone, you really wind up talking to no one. So you need to really understand that when you're creating your marketing and you're creating your sales materials, whether it be your landing pages or your presentation or even your product, you need to focus on who this is for, your ideal customer. And again, remember, it's not everybody. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of this to prove that to you. I'm not just going to tell you, I'm going to prove it to you. So anyway, customer avatar. It's your ideal customer. That's what it is. It's a representation of your ideal client. And again, we're talking about one person here. And the reason it's one person is because if you don't talk to somebody, they're not going to hear you. And if you're just talking generically, they're not going to listen. So it's really, really important. Now, that said, I say this is one person. You could have a lot of different avatars in your business, right? You could have, like we have 4 here. These are 4 very different people. They don't speak different languages as far as like English, Spanish, and Greek, but they all speak a different language inside of English. And we don't acknowledge that in many cases. Like whatever niche you're in, usually there's a different language to it. There's certain words that you use. There's slang. There's things that only that little group of people knows. And when you're talking about a niche, you need to speak their language. Otherwise, you're going to be seen as an outsider and they're not going to trust you. So it's really important that you understand the language that you need to speak to them. Now, because you've got all of these, you might think, oh God, do I have to just pick one? You can have a lot of different avatars. But what that tells you is you need a lot of different presentations. You need multiple funnels. You need to talk to each one in a different way. I mean, think about this. If you had like one specific pitch and it worked great for avatar number 1, but then if you gave that same pitch to avatar number 2 and you got 0 sales, and you did number 3 and you got 0 sales, and you did number 4, you got 0 sales, and you go back to number 1 and you got a sale, that's a pattern. You know how to talk to avatar number 1. There's probably a million avatar number 1s, right? So you could just focus right there, or you could build a different pitch. You could take a different angle for avatar number 2, and you can 4 times your business by doing this. So it's really important you understand who you're talking to and what they need to hear to actually hear you. So now you might wonder, well, if I've got 4, which one do I go for, right? Me, I say go for the most profitable one every time. If I'm going to put effort and time into creating a presentation and making, a whole sales process, I want the most bang for my buck. If I'm going to put effort in, I want results back. So for me, I go for the most profitable one. And you might be saying, well, which one is it? They all look kind of the same. They're people. Well, the difference is why what you have is so important to them. Like avatar number one might buy your product for one reason. Avatar number two might buy your product for a totally different reason. And same on down the line. So I had somebody one time, and I always ask everybody, I go, what are you selling and who do you sell it to? Who's your most profitable avatar? And I had somebody that says, well, I sell everyone. I sell to everyone. And I'm thinking, big red flag there. It's probably going to be a real hard one to sell here. And he said, well, I sell water. And I'm like, oh man, he just got me, because everybody does drink water, right? And it hit me immediately. I'm like, okay, I know how to explain this. I'm like, your water, people buy the water for different reasons. And in business, ad agencies do this all the time. They'll take the exact same product and they'll put a different label on it. They don't change the product at all. They just change the label, they change the messaging, and a lot of times they change the price too. And they sell it to a different avatar. And guess which one they push the hardest? The one that's the most expensive, because it's the most profitable. So let's use the water example. And I told this person, I said, here's how you look at it. You look at which person is the water most important to. Now, I don't want any of you to make things up about your products. It has to be real. And this is just hypothetical, just to give you an example. So I said, let's talk about 3 different avatars that could buy the water. The first one is green. She wants to save the planet. She'll buy things based on recycling. That's important to her. And she buys water, right? So if we package this water as green, helps the earth, it's going to appeal to her. But if we tell her that this bottle of water is $20, I'm not sure she cares about the earth that much. Right? So she might not go for it. She might not be our most profitable avatar. Now, avatar number 2, he's a sports nut and he's very athletic. He's very competitive. He does marathon races. He'll buy the water for a competitive edge. So if we can package it and show him how this particular water will give him an edge in his competition, he might pay $20 for it. It might not be his everyday drinking water, but he'll buy it when he's training and when he's in competition and all that. So he's a good target for selling a $20 bottle of water. But let's move to the most profitable one of all. Avatar number 3 has a health issue that is decreasing her life frame, her lifetime. And she knows she only has so much time left. And if we can package the water and show her how this water will extend her life, even by 1 day, what's that worth? What's 1 day to be with the ones you love? 1 extra day. Will she pay $20 for that bottle of water? All day long, and never complain about it. So I hope that, like that illustration, I know it sounds a little grim there, but you have to look at your product in that way. Who's going to buy it? Who are your avatars? Who are your segments? And figure out which is the most profitable segment. And that's always where I start. When I start a campaign, I always look there first. I want to focus my efforts right there. So let's move on down the line here. And how do we do that? It comes down to research. You've got to do a little research. Like if you look at ad agencies, this is what they do. You hire an ad agency and they do this research for you. They look at the market and they do the segments. They break up the segments and they figure out, okay, which avatar buckets do you have? Which one's going to be most profitable? What's the language that they speak? all that stuff that you literally have to create a marketing campaign. I gotta tell you guys, if you don't have a marketing campaign for your business or for your product, you're going to be in sales mode all the time. You're going to wind up being a high pressure salesperson, and people hate that. I don't know about you, but I hate the whole sales process. I don't like it at all. I don't like just the way it makes me feel. So what I do is I create marketing, and good marketing eliminates the need for sales. If you do good marketing, and that's where this research comes from. You can't do good marketing without this research. If you do good marketing and you really know what your ideal customer, your avatar wants and needs, and why they want it, what they're going to do with it, all that stuff, you can create marketing that will make your product sell itself. And that's what we started this presentation with. How do we sell more products, right? That's what it's all about.
And John, I'm going to jump in here because I just love this part of it, because it also says on the screen, your avatar might not be who you think it is. It's just reminding me when I started working with John and really digging into learning about avatars. And I had sold my school. I owned a tutoring business, and I wanted to start helping people who wanted to start a business. And he was asking me who my avatar was, and I didn't do any research, of course. I just knew. I was certain it was women over 40 that blah, blah, blah. I had this whole thing laid out. I'm like, I don't need to do the research. I really didn't remember that, John.
Yeah, I do.
He just went, okay, then I challenge, let's just do it for fun. Like he got me to do it, which is not fun to do it. It is a lot of work, but it was so worth it, because when I got done, I was way wrong. Like the people that were looking to start a business were like men that were young, like 24 years old, and I was so off. So it's very, very interesting to do that. And it's all getting you out of your head that you think you know it already, right, John?
Yeah. I mean, people do this all the time. They jump into business and they don't do any research, and a lot of times they're wrong. I mean, you wouldn't believe Sue, she had it in her head that she knew who her avatar was. And I was just like, I just kind of knew from experience that it didn't sound right to me. So I said, well, let's just play a little bit. Let's try this. And I kind of drug her kicking and screaming through the process. But she was really glad. And, if you look at this from a business perspective, most businesses that are really successful have done this process. And the ones that are like ultra successful, like big, huge companies, when they develop new products, the first thing they do is they hire an ad agency. Why do they do that? Because the ad agency does this process for them every time, and they do it exactly the same. And the results are exactly the same. When an ad agency does this work for you, they're not doing it based on guesswork. They're doing it on hard, cold facts that come out of the research. And that's why they win every time. They can create campaigns that just work. And that's what, we want to share this with you guys so you can get the same benefit. You can have that same advantage of creating marketing that works for your business, for your company, for your product, whatever you're doing. I know a lot of you guys are just one-man bands or one-woman bands. That's okay. It's the same process. There's no reason that you shouldn't get the same success for you as somebody with a big business, right? Let's level the playing field. It's not that hard.
John, the other thing, I don't know, I think this is where we were going to talk about this, but when I hear that your avatar might not be who to think it is, that reminds me also of this. Like when my dad got dementia and my sister and I had to go back and sell his house for him, he was not the avatar for realtors. Are always a lot of realtors are trying to market to the person that owns the house. But what we did is we figured out that we found a realtor that was marketing to the kids of seniors who wanted to sell the house. So we went with that realtor. They spoke to us. It's like it was like, do you have a parent that is going through this? And so that's who we went with.
Yeah,
So I think that's interesting.
yeah, I mean, you can see examples of this everywhere. That's a great example of exactly what we're talking about here. You know, it's like the next thing, once you've identified who they are and you've done this research, the research part is so you can get to know them. You know, you get to know who they are, and some of the ways that you do this is talking to them. You know, interviewing somebody that is your ideal customer. Maybe you've had them as a customer for a long time and you want to get new customers. There's no better way to do this than to talk to your existing customers. If and only if they're the ones you like to work with. Don't do this process based around people you don't like to work with, or your life's going to be a living hell. You don't want to attract them. You want to attract your ideal customer. Now, you know, I talk about profitability. I talk about my ideal customer as being my most profitable one. That's not really always true. When I talk about my most profitable one, sometimes it's the one that can bring me the easiest money and I just love to work with them. That's more important to me than, you know, somebody that can bring me a pile of money that I'm not going to enjoy working with them. You know, I'd rather have the easy money and the person I like to work with. So keep that in mind, you know, when you're doing this process, but talk to them. Talk to who you like to work with. Another way is, you know, it's a little darker, but you could spy on your competitors. You can look at, you know, who are they targeting? What keywords are they going after? What does their messaging look like? From the messaging, a lot of times you can tell who they're trying to talk to. So that's another way to do this. And you can use online tools. And we had mentioned AI. AI is a really great tool that is available to everyone, basically for free, that you can use to do some of this research for you. And it works really good. The Chat GPT thing, if you go to openai.com and create a free account, and then you go to the Chat GPT little thing that they have for free, it's just a chat window and you can ask it questions and the AI will tell you. So you could say, you know, you could go in there and you could type in, tell me about the market segments in my niche, you know, in the cosmetics industry. And then, you know, it will give you those. And then you can look at the one like lipstick, you know, tell me about the different types of users of lipstick. And it'll give you you know, a list of those. And then you can just keep digging and digging. So if you don't have customers to talk to, you can go ahead and use Chat GPT and talk to it, because it knows a lot. You know, it's not 100%. You don't count on it as gospel, but it's a really good tool to brainstorm.
And
So,
we're gonna go ahead and answer questions at the end. So if you can save your questions, that would be awesome. Thank you.
yeah. So that's pretty cool. Now, building a profile. This is something a lot of people will do, and they'll basically write down every detail that they can identify about their perfect customer. And in some cases, they'll even put a picture, and you might be thinking, well, that's ridiculous. That's not even a real person. Why would I do that? Right? The reason is some people need a face to talk to. And when you're creating your marketing campaign, you're creating a conversation, right? Remember I said, if you talk to everyone, you talk to no one. If you're talking to a market, the last time I checked, markets don't have credit cards. Markets don't buy things. People buy things. So if you've got a person up in front of you and you're visualizing that person as the person that you're talking to, I guarantee you your copy is going to come out better. It's going to come out smoother and it's going to work better. That person is going to consume it better because you're talking to that person. You're not just talking, you know, pie in the sky. So get a visual, get some eyeballs, look into those eyeballs. And what would you tell this person? What would you tell them about your product if you wanted to convey the value. And everything that you know about them, having it on the sheet here, it's an exercise just to get you in the mind frame of what's important to this person. Because I can tell you right now, things you should not be talking about is yourself, is your product, is all the things that are important to you. This person doesn't care. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's hard, cold reality. This person cares about themselves and their outcome. And if you're not on that focus, you're not really talking to them. So you need to be talking about how your product delivers what they need, what they want, and how it's going to get them, how it's going to make their life better, how it's going to save them money, all the things that are important to them. That is where your focus should be. So it's really important to understand who they are, what they want, why they want it. That stuff will make the difference between you selling products and struggling every time. I guarantee it. So this, and this is what I'm talking about. It's the communication. If you're creating marketing messages, you have to create marketing messages that attract that most profitable customer. And do you guys know how a magnet works? If you use one side of the magnet, it pulls the metal in, and then if you flip it over, it repels and it pushes away. If you do this process right, you'll push away all the ones you don't want. It is a beautiful scenario. It's really, really cool. So that's another big value of doing this right. It's a little bit of work. Yeah, it is. But what thing in life that's worthwhile, that's worth having, is not worth working for a little bit, right? This is your business. I mean, what's your alternative? You could go back to a day job. That's a bad word in my language. So I would rather put in a little bit of effort here and build the life that, the life that I want. So this is an example back to Sue, when she had her tutoring business, she was having trouble conveying her messaging. But after she did what we just talked about, she talked to some of her customers. These were great customers. She loved to work with them, but she wanted to get more customers and it wasn't working for her. So in talking to her customers, she realized the biggest thing to them was homework was their nightmare. Like, these were busy people and they wanted time with their kids, but what they got home to kids that had problems. They had homework that wasn't done, and they didn't want to do homework after making dinner and all that, and then, do that and then put the kids to bed and start that vicious cycle over again and again and again. It's like Groundhog Day, right? All they wanted was time with their kids, quality family time. So Sue created messaging, no more homework headaches, get your family time back. And she hit the nail on the head. When she came out with that messaging, those parents fell in love with that. And guess what? They didn't care that she was the most expensive tutor on the market. They wanted the outcome that she was promising. That made her different than all the rest because she was speaking their language. That's like music to their ears. So how did that change your life, Sue, when you got the messaging right?
Oh my gosh. I would get people calling, my phone would just ring off the hook. I have a headache. That's what they would say. I have a headache. And I knew they saw the marketing message. So yeah, that was brilliant, I have to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, she went from struggling, having people that didn't want to pay her. They were cheap. They didn't want to pay the price. They didn't get the value. And just by changing this messaging, so much happened here. And this is so few words on this page. No more homework headaches. Get your family time back. What is that? 9 words? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 words. In 9 words, she conveyed so much value that cost was never an issue again after that. And people that didn't have this core value, they weren't attracted to her. So she got rid of all the ones that didn't want to pay her. She got the magnet effect. She attracted the ones she wanted and repelled the rest. So that's a really good thing in business. Tutoring versus family time. You've got to figure out, nobody wanted tutoring. Tutoring weren't her customers. That's not what they wanted. That's what everyone wanted to sell them. But what they really wanted was time with the family. So when Sue sold time with the family, that's an easy sell. So here's one. I'm going to give you a really good example. And this was one of my customers. And at the time, I was driving traffic through search engines. And this company, they made, well, they didn't make anything. They were just distributors of products. And they sold fins, masks, snorkels, all kinds of recreational equipment to hotels and resorts. They were the supplier, right? So I was getting them customers based on that. And then at the end of the year, I called them in for a meeting and, to look at the campaign and see where I could do better for them. And I said, what is the most profitable segment? So we can focus on that. And I'm going to make you more money next year. This is how we're going to do it. And the guy, he said, well, water slides. And I'm like, what? Water slides? I didn't even know you make water slides. And he said, well, we don't, but we sell them and they're the most profitable thing. And I'm like, well, okay, that would have been nice to know last year. Let's change the campaign up and see what we can do. And when I did that, he started selling these like exotic water slides. And before, like, it was a couple of weeks in, and he gets a call. He's in his office on a Saturday morning, and he gets a call. Woman on the other line says, hey, this is Celine Dion. And he thought it was a joke. He hung up on her. And she calls right back and she said, hey, this is Celine. We just got disconnected. And he's like, wow, well, how did you hear about me? And she says, well, I ran a search for a water slide developer on Google and you came up first. And he's like, well, all right. Well, how can I help you? She wound up flying him out to Las Vegas to her place, and he wound up putting this exotic water slide in her backyard. And it was $1 million water slide. One customer, one job. I mean, how many fins, masks, and snorkels is he going to have to do to get $1 million in sales, right? He's going to have to work his butt off all year to sell $1 million worth of fins, masks, and snorkels. Where here, one customer, one project, it's $1 million project, right? So that's a multi-million-dollar shift in changing avatars. And if you thought that was cool, he did it again. He came back to me after this. He didn't wait a year. He came back to me and he said, hey, there's a more profitable segment to my business. And I'm like, what's more profitable than $1 million water slide? And he said, I want to do water parks. And I was like going, wow, can you do that? And he's like, I absolutely can. He says, I have all the vendors, I have all the licensing materials. I can get through the compliance, everything. I want to do this. So I adjusted his campaign, and it was a couple months in, he called me up and he said, I just got $100 million water park project in Dubai. And I'm like, wow. So I guess we're not selling fins, masks, and snorkels anymore. But it's a shift, it's a shift in business for where the money is. The higher you go up in the ladder, the less customers you need to really build a booming business. You don't necessarily want thousands of little customers that, make you pull your hair out, when you can have a few that are really good that you love to work with. And guess what? They all refer each other. So you get one, and it like opens the door to many. So that's really cool. So let's talk about like the messaging, how you shift gears. With the water park guy, it was in the marketing of what I was doing for him. That was the shift. It was easy. But if you're actually doing marketing that's going out, it might be a little more difficult. This is an example of getting the messaging wrong. I don't know how many of you heard of Timothy Ferriss. He wrote The 4-Hour Workweek, right? This book sold millions of copies, made him a ton of money, but it didn't start there. When it started off, he got the messaging wrong. He was talking about outsourcing. Like, yeah, I put this book up, Outsourcing for Dummies. This is like tutoring for Sue. Nobody really wanted a tutor, right? They wanted the family time back. Well, in this case, nobody wanted outsourcing. What they wanted was the 4-hour work week. You need to figure out, what does your avatar want? Not what you want to feed them. What do they want? It's oftentimes not what you think. And you only get to figure this out when you understand them. So he changed the name. He didn't change one page, one letter in the book, just changed the cover, changed the name, 4-hour work week. The outsourcing was the thing that was going to get them what they wanted. But if you don't sell them what they want, you're never going to sell them the thing that'll get them there. That's a hard sell. So this is a concept that you need to wrap your head around in marketing. If you want to sell your stuff, you better figure out who you're selling it to and why they want it. That is really, really important. So let's talk a little bit about Alignable. You know, you have an opportunity to talk to people in Alignable. You have a ton, you have millions of people in Alignable. So if you look at it for, you know, where are they? Once you figure out who your avatar is, you look at where are they hanging out? And you know, they're hanging out all over the internet, Facebook, LinkedIn, BNI, Pinterest, and Alignable. You're in Alignable. This is your home base. I bet you've got a ton of people in here that want what you have to offer. When you can figure out what that is and bring it to them, you're probably going to make some sales. And you've got a forest, you have a rainforest of prospects right here at your fingertips. So did you want to say anything specific?
Slide, if I'm not mistaken.
What's that?
I think it's the next slide.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep, there we go. So on Alignable, like what John was saying, there's a place on your profile. If you haven't been to my profile workshop or anything, just know that Alignable is built on a match.com for your business, not to date, but your match.com for your business. So you have to tell Alignable who that ideal customer is, and you have to be very, very, very clear to describe it. And then when you see those little purple tags, you want to make sure you choose the tags that tell Alignable who you want to meet for your ideal customer. But even more important is you want to figure out who that ideal referral partner is. So when we say discover your ideal most profitable customer, you also need to figure out who your ideal referral partner is. So for example, this slide, Ligaya owns a dog kennels. So her best customer owns a pet. Well, Alignable is not going to tell you. This is a good example. I really want you to talk about this, John. It's easy to find certain things. So for example, she's looking for people who own a pet. Well, Alignable doesn't even know who owns a pet. So they're not going to help you find that customer. However, they know that veterinarians own, all of their customers have pets. So you can say she says her ideal referral partner is a veterinarian, for example. So you want to make sure you get this whole thing right. So I want you to listen to all the stuff John's saying so you can decide your ideal customer and referral partner. So I do want you to talk, John, about when your ideal customer maybe has a headache. It's a little different, right? Than
Yes, that is so true. So let's just hit this real quick, and then I'll cover what Sue just mentioned, because that's really important. So the two pieces here, the ideal customer, that's the customer like who you want to sell to. But the ideal referral partner, to me, this is where the real gold is. This is the person that has a relationship with who you want to sell to. And they can make that referral and make that sale just super easy. Because when we're referred, that comes from a trusted source. So all of a sudden now you don't have to prove yourself. You've been referred. So they're going to take your information, they're going to take it much more easily, and they're going to trust you much faster, and you get to the sale much quicker. So let me hit the next one. And before we talk about Fran is one of Sue's friends, really cool. And we'll tell you how a change in her messaging got her there. But when you're looking at the avatar and you're trying to break it down into a person, right? But what if your product, or what if your avatar is not a person? What if it's something where it truly could be anyone, like a headache, for instance? If you have a cure for headaches and you're trying to dial in like, well, who has a headache? Anyone can have a headache. In that case, your avatar becomes the symptom, not the person. So you talk about the symptom and what that symptom causes to any person, and they will hear you as though you're talking to them specifically. So keep that in mind. It's not like one size fits all when you're talking about business. Business is about getting creative. Business is about solving problems. So you need to look at what you sell, who you serve, and if you do truly serve everyone, like if you have a headache cure, everybody gets headaches, right? Or most people get headaches. So when that's the case, look at the avatar as though it's a symptom, and you'll kill it. You'll absolutely kill it. And Fran is just that. Fran sells products. She was selling products that they're like spice blends, and she was selling them as spice blends, and she was just selling them in the wrong way, and they were not selling. She was having all kinds of trouble. And Sue had a meeting with her, and she gave Sue these spices, and she's like, here, try these. They'll make you feel better. They'll make you healthy. And Sue's like, well, I feel fine and I'm already healthy. So she basically took Fran's spices and put them in her cupboard and forgot about them. And then in another conversation, and Fran did this being helpful. Sue was talking about, what was it? Was it a headache, or?
Well, the first one
was your
my
dad? Yeah. So Sue was found out that her dad had Alzheimer's, and was going into dementia, and she's starting to kind of feel like, oh my God, is this genetic? Is this going to happen to me? So she was having a conversation about that concern with Fran, and Fran said, oh my God, I have a spice blend that will help you prevent that and avoid that. And Sue's like, well, how many do you have? I want to buy them all. So it went from a generic where who cares to, oh my God, I have to have that or I'm going to die. You really need to figure out what that is for your stuff. What it is that conveys the value. So you can't talk generic feel good. You need to solve a specific problem for somebody. You have to deliver value or they're not going to buy your stuff. So specifics don't deliver, well, generics don't deliver that value. You have to get down to the specifics. And that's franthespicelady.com. If you got a problem, she's got an herb that'll fix it for you. So that messaging, just changing that message. What's your problem? You're missing, these spices. I can tell you which spice will help you with that problem.
And it's funny, John, she's worked with you as well and listened to you and both of us, because I taught her what you taught me. And now she has been, you don't know this, but she has created a whole book and completely redid her website. So each one of her spice blends that fix a different problem, she has changed the messaging, she's changed the packaging, she's changed, it's amazing. I can't wait to see what happens with her.
That is awesome. That's exactly what I told her to do. That is awesome that she's actually doing it. Very cool. Yeah. So she's probably going to be like a raving success, just because she's finally figured out how to get it right. So we got questions here, but first, let me just tell you guys, if you found value to this is really only the first piece of the puzzle. Figuring out, who your avatar is, it's the first part of your marketing. Let me just tell you about the whole thing. You guys want to know all the pieces to the puzzle? So this is basically what I call analysis. Analysis is figuring out your market, figuring out your segmentation, figuring out your avatar, a lot of the stuff that we talked about today. And next is you move from that analysis process and you move into creation. This is where you're creating everything. You're creating your website, you're creating your marketing materials, your elevator speech, how you're going to convey your value, webinars, sales presentations. All that stuff is done in the creation process. Now, to create what we call a marketing funnel, that's just a fancy term for a sales presentation, right? It's not magic. It's just a process of taking somebody from not knowing you and introducing yourself, showing them how you have something that will give them great value, solve their problem, get them what they want out of life or out of the next 5 minutes or whatever it is, and just creating demand and desire. First, you have to grab their attention, and then you create demand and desire with your presentation. You eliminate any objections that they may have, and you make them an offer. And in a nutshell, that's what a marketing funnel is. Those are the key components of a marketing funnel. Now, there's some little things around that, like email campaigns that follow up and keep bringing them back till you make the sale. But that's the bones of it. If you don't have the attention grabber, and the attention grabber is made from what we just discovered, the ideal avatar, you have to build your attention grabber based on what you learned there. And then you create demand and desire, showing them how what you have is going to get them what they want. You need to anticipate and eliminate their objections, and then make them an irresistible offer that they just flat out cannot refuse. If you do that, if you create a marketing funnel that does that, you will not believe what it's going to do to your business. It's going to change your life. And the next thing after you've created that, the third and final piece to the puzzle is traffic. So it goes analysis, creation, and then traffic. And what you're doing in traffic is you're driving the right people to the message. So you've created the message. Now you're putting it in front of the right eyeballs in the traffic part. And that's what I've created. I've created a thing called the ACT marketing protocol. It shows all those pieces to the puzzle, A to Z. You guys just learned like one of the first ones. So there's a group. I actually have a group on Alignable where I teach the whole thing. And if any of you are interested in that, you want to learn more, I'm going to be doing a lot of these with Sue, stuff where we're showing pieces of the puzzle. But if you want the whole thing, you can hop in there into that group. I call it the secrets to getting more customers. And I learned this from ad agencies. I learned that they have a process. They do the same thing every time, and they've been doing it for over 100 years. The process has not changed one bit in 100 years or more. The only difference is the delivery mechanism. Now we're delivering things on the internet. We're digitizing. That's the only difference. And it shows how to do that, how to automate the whole process. And it's pretty cool stuff. So I just wanted to tell you guys about that. If you want more, that's how you would get it. And I know Sue has a link if anybody's wants to hop in there and take advantage of that.
Yes, I'll get the link and put it in the chat. And I'm just going to tell you guys, I actually was on his initial first team he asked for volunteers, and well, actually I paid for it. It wasn't really volunteer. I paid for it, and I got to go through and really learn this and help him put it together. And it's like the best thing that you could do for your business. And it's just ridiculously inexpensive for the amazing value you get. So I'll go find that link and post it in the chat while you do some
yeah, if we have Q&A here, anybody that's got questions, you can pop in here. But that program, that ACT program, I've sold that. I usually sell it for $2,000. And you guys as Alignable members, you basically get it for free if you're part of that group. And it's $29 a month to be part of the group. So it's pretty much a no-brainer. All right, Barry, go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, you actually you pointed out something that is what I'm looking for, and that is an effective automated CRM so that I can contact all the people that I'm meeting, networking, Alignable, and everywhere else.
Okay, yeah, we the one that I use is called Kartra. I absolutely love it. And inside the ACT program, we actually show examples and tutorials on how to do that, how to set that program up to automate all your marketing, all your follow-up. You can do, I won't even go into it here, all the things it'll do, but it's absolutely phenomenal for automating a business.
And where did you say I could find that?
The program, Sue's going to put the link in for my program.
Yeah.
The product itself is called Kartra. If you're interested in it, let me know. I can get you a link that's a 90-day free trial. I'm actually part of their board of advisors, which is the
Great.
only.
I'm researching a lot of them right now, so I'd love to find out about that.
Okay.
My information is in Alignable.
Okay, cool. Well, just reach out to me and just ping me on that, and I'll send you that link over for it. So cool. Is that it?
You guys, we have 10 minutes of questions. We have to leave exactly because John has another call. So take advantage of asking any questions you want about any of this, because you've got an expert here to help you.
At least I play an expert on TV, right?
Oh, right. You know, it's funny while we're waiting for someone to raise their hand. One of the things I was thinking was we had a question once from a lady who was sold things on Etsy, and she said she was an artist, and she started her question was, well, I don't know who my avatar is. It's anybody that likes my art. And then I asked her, we said, so well, which thing do you make that you sell the most of? And she goes, oh, she does this certain thing for veterans. And so we came up with this whole idea. We started playing around, and I said, well, why don't you just work on just that one piece and market to veterans? And then I talked to her later, and she was doing great. So anyway, Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that was a good segue, Sue, because I was going to ask about how do we define if we have, I have a personal side and a business side that I can market to. So I'm just starting my business. So how do I decide what to start first as far as who my ideal avatar is, to where I could evolve, and like your pool guy, right? Or like, how do you start with how do you define what that is?
Okay, well, with me personally, I always look at which one's going to be the most profitable. And again, keep in mind that doesn't necessarily mean the most money, right? It's the one that I really like to work with that's going to bring me easy money. So it might not be the absolute most money, but it's the one I'm going to really love working with. And what I've found in a lot of cases, it does wind up being the one that brings me the most money as well. But, you know, like I said, there's no hard and fast rules to any of this stuff. It's all very fluid. You know, as long as you're making money and your business is flowing and growing, there's no right or wrong way to do that. Right. But there's easy ways.
And in your program, in John's program, he has all of these things. Like, you get access to everything. And there's like the worksheets that you can use to start doing the research. So all of that stuff is really.
The other thing too, I didn't even mention, is with that program, even for you guys that's getting it free and you're just paying the $29 a month, the biggest bonus there is you get to take me home with you to help. Because I do the Thursday calls, and every Thursday I'm on from 11 to 1 Pacific time. So I literally just hop from that call onto this one. And every Thursday I'm there to help. Anything you've got, any questions, you know, you've got, I'm there to help you. So Anna, you had your hand up. Go ahead. Just unmute, Anna.
There we go.
There you go.
Yes. So regarding the ideal client being symptoms, I'd like to run this sentence by you and get your feedback.
Okay.
So I sell pain and illness relief using quantum energy to people who want their life back with no more doctors, no more side effects, and no more fatigue. Am I anywhere in the ballpark?
Yes, absolutely. So here's going to be your choices of avatar. And because pain, again, is too generic. You've got somebody with knee pain. Knee pain is your avatar.
Gotcha.
Neck pain, back pain. So figure out of those, which one is going to be the most profitable. You know, and profitability is there's three things to profitability to figure out if you have a profitable market. One is the size of the market. Like you might do some research and say, wow, there's 50 million people with back pain, but there's only 10,000 with knee pain. So look for the size of the market, and then look for how big the pain problem is. Like with back pain, you might be immobile. That's a pretty big problem.
Yeah.
So you check that box off, and then is it worth them paying? You know, that checks that box off. And then do they have the money to actually pay for it?
Yeah.
So if you can check those three boxes off, you have a profitable market and you should be good to go. You might have multiple profitable markets in pain.
Right. Yes.
At that point, I would really just kind of put the blinders on, toss a coin and pick one, because they're all going to be good.
Yeah.
But focus on the one until you're successful, and then branch out. Don't try and do two at once. You'll hurt yourself. You'll hurt your results.
Yeah. It'll give me back pain. Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it'll give you head pain. All right, Eugene.
Yeah, my ideal client, my ideal is the Fortune 500 and the Global 1000. And we usually would be talking to their marketing or advertising departments.
Okay.
So that I think that I've been doing a lot of the calls, and I think we need top salespeople to do them. You know, people who know how to close. So that's what our problem is right now.
I would argue that fact, because if you figure out who you're talking to and you create good marketing for them, you don't need salespeople. I can guarantee it.
Really?
If you can get that message to the right people, it will sell itself. Yeah.
Okay. And I have one other short question. You said Carta? You were talking about, huh?
Kartra.
Kartra. Is that similar to Sattva?
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with
Probably
that
not.
one.
Okay.
There's a lot of them out there. There's like ClickFunnels, there's Infusionsoft, which they call Keep. There's Kajabi. There's a ton of them out there. There's
Okay, and how much does that one cost? One that you're talking about? You said what is?
Kartra, I believe it's $99 a month for that.
Okay, I think I've talked to them before then. Sounds familiar. Yeah.
It'll automate your entire online business. It's awesome.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Alfredo.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
I'm actually at a Starbucks. I hear some noise in the background. I am a mortgage lender, and I'm trying to figure out how I get that captive audience that you just mentioned. I've been trying to build some Twitterware, but my outlook has been that I want to be able to search business owners, because businesses have a hard time retaining employees. And the research, I mean, I've looked into it. I'm not 100% on it, but I heard that, you know, homeowners make some of the best loyal employees, some of the most hardworking. If you help your employees become homeowners, they actually are able to, they stay a little bit longer, they may come in a little earlier, they will stay a little longer because they got obligations and stuff like that. So I'm trying to create myself a niche.
Yeah, I know that's an old trick when with salespeople is you get them committed and then they have to make more sales to keep up with the lifestyle.
Well, that's not how I'm perceiving it, but maybe you're right. And the idea for me on my end is selling obviously the idea to employers and have them offer that as a added benefit or an extended benefit to working with that corporation or company.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to see how I can maybe break into that or target that audience.
Yeah, that's actually that's in the creation process. So that would be beyond the avatar process, but the avatar process is really just about identifying the segment and figuring out, okay, what's the problem here that we're solving? And then moving into the creation piece, taking that, and that's where you would be working over in that mode. So you got the beginning of your process down. You just need to kind of keep working through, and you might want to jump into the program, and I can help you work through it as long as it takes.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, we are
Okay.
just out of time. Thank you, Alfredo.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for asking questions. Thank you all for being here. I hope you got some massive value. I know I could listen to I could listen to John over and over again. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and we'll hope to see you soon. You can find a replay at alignableuniversity.com. It's one of the last ones is on there. We'll be adding this one. So we'll see you soon. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.